Before the start of Chapter 3 is a little guide. Manhattan shorthand, a translation. 1. Chips. Harry Cipriani on 5th and 59th Street. 2. Anna. It's A-N-A. To the Park Avenue princesses, Anna equals anorexic equals thin equals perfection. 3. Beyond. Not somewhere far away. It's a substitute superlative replacing words like fabulous/stunning/gorgeous. E.g., that eyebrow wax is beyond. 4. A woman. Diamond the size of an ice rink. 5. ATM. Rich boyfriend. 6. MIT. Mogul in training, in parentheses, more desirable than an ATM. 7. MTM. Married to mogul. Better than both of previous. 8. Llamas on Madison. Insanely glamorous South American girls who gallop up Madison in ponchos and pearls. 9. Fake Bake. Tan acquired at Portofino Sun Soho Spa on West Broadway. 10. Ew! Mini scream designed to show surprise/horror, as in, ew! She got the new Bottega boots before me? Used exclusively by Manhattan girls under 27 and female stars of NBC sitcoms. 11. On the DL. On the down low. From the down low, which means same as on the QT. 12. Clinical depressed, as in clinical depression. 13. The Fritz, abbreviation for the fucking Ritz, as in the Ritz Hotel, Paris. And then Chapter 3. The only sexually transmitted disease I want to contract, said Julie, is fiancé fever. I could see why Julie wanted a prospective husband. American men are wonderful, buff creatures with unique talents. I mean, if you squint enough, they all look like JFK Jr., I swear it. For someone with attention deficit disorder, which has afflicted Julie and most of the other Park Avenue princesses since childhood, although it doesn't seem to afflict them when shopping, parentheses. Her new ability to focus was miraculous. She had this crazy idea that if she selected exactly the right party, one that was the equivalent of attending 6 gallery openings, 4 museum benefits, 3 dinners, and 2 major movie premieres, all in one night, she would be guaranteed to leave at the end of the evening with a prospective husband on her arm for sure. Julie said this was a project she didn't want to waste too much time on, when, as she puts it, quote, I could waste my time doing other things like getting eyebrow waxes, end quote. Julie's attitude toward her imminent engagement was a little disturbing. She honestly believed that when she got the perfect fiancé, if she hadn't had time to get her eyebrows shaped, which is, in her opinion, the most important facial procedure performed by the doctors at the Bergdorf Goodman Salon, she would be so gutted there would be no point in the fiancé anyway. When Julie puts her mind to something, she can be surprisingly efficient. She selected the New York Conservatory Ball, a charity benefit, as the most promising hunting ground. Having bought a table, she called the honorary chairwoman, Mrs. E. Henry Steinway Ziegler III, to, quote-unquote, discuss strategy. Julie wanted to check the seating plan in advance. Mrs. Ziegler invited us to tea at her marble mansion overlooking Central Park on 5th Avenue and 82nd Street. She loves to play Cupid. Call me Muffy, girls, she said warmly when we arrived. Muffy was wearing a fringed Oscar de la Renta poncho, lime green cigarette pants, and enough jewels to empty a diamond mine. She said she was channeling Elizabeth Taylor in The Sandpiper. Everyone in New York is always channeling someone else. Her poncho swinging dramatically from side to side as she trotted ahead, she led us through the echoing atrium and into the drawing room. Grander than Versailles, it's hung with huge gilt mirrors and Italian oil paintings and dotted with elegant antique sofas and chairs that Muffy bulk buys whenever she's close to a Sotheby's. Muffy tells people her home is decorated, quote, to look exactly like Oscar's. I went there, I saw his place, I couldn't stand it, I had to have it, I cloned his apartment, end quote. Muffy always says that being rich is a life sentence that is mainly enjoyable and I should know, end quote. Almost every Upper East Side wife I have met is called Muffy. Apparently it was once a very popular name in Connecticut, where most Muffys were born, roughly in the middle of the last century. This Muffy, like all her neighborhood Muffies, says Ralph Lauren is my drug of choice. She's addicted to Botox injections and tells everyone she's 38. She's an FOG, friend of George, and when Bill Clinton was in power, she was an FOB. She donates millions to the Republicans and millions more to the Democrats because she still has a quote-unquote special relationship with Bill. All the other Muffies have special relationships with Bill too, but I don't think she knows that. We sat in a little group on Muffy's matching Victorian Knoll sofas. Knoll sofas are very, very in on the Upper East Side right now, especially if you can get one upholstered in 17th century Bergdorf tapestry, which of course is almost impossible. A uniform maid brought tea on a silver tray. With her party imminent, Muffy was as hyperactive as a Japanese tourist in a Louis Vuitton outlet store. She couldn't stop tugging at the tassels on the sofa cushions. Oh, Lord, the party's tomorrow. I've secured super-duper princes, millionaires, movie producers, heirs, architects, politicians. Bill might be coming, she exclaimed. Everyone in New York will be here tomorrow night. Which charity is this party in aid of, Muffy? I asked. Oh, save something or other. Save Venice, save the Met, save the ballet. Who knows? I'm on so many committees. Mr. Ziegler just adores those tax breaks. That I just call them all the same thing. Save whatever. Isn't that brilliant? If only someone would save me from the ladies on the committees. If you don't donate $1 million, it's death by stiletto. I think this one is saving flowers of some kind. Charity is a glorious American institution because ultimately someone or other who needs it gets pots of money, and we all get to dress up in super-duper Michael Kors frocks. Now, business, she said more seriously. A little birdie tells me you want a fiancé, Julie. How marvelous. Do tell, what sort of man do you want? Someone smart and fun, who's going to make me laugh, and who I can moan and whine at for hours and they'll still adore me. Just don't hook me up with a creative type. I got those out of my system in high school. No actors, artists, or musicians for me, thank you, said Julie. I hadn't realized Julie was so mature. Mind you, when you've had 54 boyfriends, you should know what you want. There's no fear of that on the Upper East Side, dear, said Muffy. There are no creative types up here. Oh, no. The mayor doesn't let them pass Union Square. Oh, and I know this is going to sound totally spoiled and superficial, but I do like it if my boyfriends believe in drivers. I blame Dad. He ruined me for life by having me chauffeur to school every day in a Jaguar. That's just the way I am. I can't change myself, can I? Said Julie, blushing a little. No, dear, cooed Muffy soothingly. If you don't like walking, you don't like walking, and that's it. Look at me. I have 3 drivers. We have one at the house in Palm Beach, one in Aspen, and one here. There's nothing wrong with expressing your needs, Julie. There's extravagant and there's extravagant. Even among her own set, Muffy takes the word to new heights. I just want to fall in love, Muffy, like all the other girls, and have radiant skin without having to get vitamin C injections, said Julie, her eyes looking watery. I get really lonesome sometimes. Muffy is an exceptionally mathematical socialite whose placement equations are as complex as chess. She has a system she uses whenever her quote-unquote merging services are required. She always makes sure she has one table of 13 with one too many men. Every guest has a number in the seating plan. Julie was number 4, and her seat would be second from the end of the rectangular table, which had the advantage of being accessible for conversation by 4 men. To Julie's left and right would be an Italian prince and a record producer. Opposite would be a real estate mogul, and at the head of the table would be the 13th, the extra man, who would be told by the hostess that she was terribly sorry she had to sit him next to 2 other men. Quote, but there's just too many of you boys tonight, quote. I don't know anyone else in New York who could avail a girl of 4 eligible dinner partners at one sitting. The only time Muffy's math fails her is when it comes to budgeting for the florists. The next night, Julie's smile was bigger than Africa. So were her diamond earrings. Sometimes even someone as happy for her friend's good fortune as me goes a bit off yellow with envy when I see Julie's Cartier loot, as she calls it. Still, the nice thing about Julie is she shares everything and had loaned me her diamond hoops for the night. She'd also enlisted the Bergdorf beauty team to do our hair and makeup at her apartment. When I arrived, Julie was sitting on the chaise lounge in her... Side note, there's a typo there. It says Longue instead of Loung. In her drawing room, it's a very elegant salon painted duck egg blue with tall windows, thick cornicing, and an outrageous Guy Bouillardian nude hanging over the fireplace just to mix things up. All Julie's furniture is that wonderful 30s Hollywood stuff she adores, reupholstered in pale velvet to match the walls. Still, I couldn't see much of anything wonderful because every surface was covered in some kind of cosmetic instrument. David, the makeup artist, had literally turned the room into his personal makeup studio. He was dabbing blush on Julie's cheeks, Raquel was ironing Julie's hair, and Irina, the Polish pedicurist, was buffing Julie's toenails. This is nothing. I've heard that some girls in New York don't leave their apartment before a party without their dermatologist checking their epidermis for blemishes first. Do I look happy? Does my smile look, real? Asked Julie as I walked in. David said her smile was as real as her Cartier lute, which I thought was a very appropriate metaphor. It's totally fake. Isn't it beyond? Said Julie. Oh my gosh, it's beyond, said David. I went to my dermatologist this afternoon, and you know those little muscles around your mouth, the platysma? You probably don't because most people don't think about them. Well, after 23, they start drooping, but there's this genius way of fixing them and giving you back your smile. Your derm injects a tiny bit of Botox to paralyze them, and the corners of your mouth turn instantly upward. Once you've got the Botox smile, you can be smiling all night without actually smiling, which makes the smiling much less tiring, said Julie, as if she were making total sense. The dress code for Muffy's party was black tie. As soon as Julie's hair and makeup were done, she threw on a thigh-skimming black silk mini dress. Chanel, couture, FedEx from Paris. While she disappeared into her dressing room to examine herself, I sat down and took advantage of David and Raquel. There are certain parties in New York where you literally can't walk in the door without hair and makeup. Muffy's was one of them. The hair and makeup thing takes you up a notch. After a while, you become convinced that you couldn't cope if you just swipe Maybelline mascara on yourself, which would probably clog. Manhattan makeup artists actually comb your eyelashes after they've applied eye makeup. Mascara clots are a federal crime here. Just as David was patting gloss on my lips, a loud cry came from the direction of Julie's bedroom. A fashion tantrum was brewing. I wasn't surprised. New York girls have one every time someone mentions clothes. I wandered into the bedroom and looked over Julie's shoulder at her in the mirror. It's totally and utterly wrong. I look conservative, she wailed dramatically, pulling at the hem of the little dress. Look at me. I look like someone from the Broadway show with fat people. Hairspray. My future prospective husband is going to think I'm a troll. The dress was gorgeous, 100% killer chic. Julie, you look incredible. That dress is so short it's almost invisible. It's the inverse of conservative, I said, trying to reassure her. I'm freaking out, and you say things like inverse to me? Can everyone just go away? She cried, miserable. Julie locked herself in the dressing room. She changed and changed and changed. She said through the door that she didn't want to go to the party now because it would just be too much sartorial, intellectual, and sexual strain. Although I honestly didn't mind whether or not I went to some fabulous ball at Muffy's Marble Mansion. I had a gorgeous white chiffon dress on that I had borrowed from the fashion closet at the office, a dress I'm fully intending to return one day soon, and it would have been a terrible waste for it not to see the world. Julie, I don't care in the slightest whether we go, I said. I mean, I could wear the dress another time. But it's going to be such a fun party. Parties in New York aren't fun. They're war, said Julie, unlocking the door and appearing in the killer Chanel again. David, give me a Xanax. I always take a tranquilizer on a first date. David dashed over to his makeup bag, which is filled with a variety of prescription drugs for just such occasions, and fished out a little package. Julie tore it open and popped this really cute baby blue pill in her mouth, which I thought was a very modern way to handle a war, and called her driver to take us to Muffy's. I can safely say that I am almost definitely completely sure that I have no idea at all how I ended up with a prospective husband and Julie didn't. I mean, to be more precise, at the end of the night, the PH ended up with his head not at all close to the Brazilian region of Julie, but in severely close proximity to that geographical zone of myself. You see, this champagne bubble had sipped a few champagne bubbles herself, which makes it quite hard to remember exactly how things happened that night. But in the interest of correcting some rather nasty, vicious Park Avenue princess-type gossip, which is that I stole the PH from directly beneath my best friend's beautiful nose, which of course Julie doesn't believe on principle, I feel bound to recount the events of the evening as far as I can almost definitely remember them. We were an hour late for the party by the time we finally arrived at Muffy's. It was almost impossible to find our table because Muffy had bunches of white lilies and candles so densely packed in the room you could barely see a yard in front of you. Parentheses, flower-wise, the lily jungle is absolutely it right now in Manhattan, despite the inherent navigational difficulties. Close parentheses. There must have been 250 guests with as many waiters who were uniformed in white tuxes and gloves. The crowd was dazzling. Muffy always attracts the cream of Manhattan society to her soirees. Dress-wise, there was a major floral theme going on, which always happens at benefits for gardens. A lot of the girls were in Emmanuel Ungaro because he does the best flowery dresses in the world, no argument. Jewel-wise, the younger girls had brought out their Asprey diamond daisies, and the older women were weighed down with estate gems from the safe. Everyone was kissing everyone else hello and saying how thrilled they were to see one another, even if they weren't. We were seated just as the starter of chilled mint soup was being served. Our table was right at the center of the room. Everyone else had already sat down. The 4 PHs Muffy had selected for Julie were ethnically diverse. Julie barely had a moment to take a spoonful of soup before the Italian princeling, who was on her left, declared, "You more beautiful than Empire State Building." "You are charming," said Julie. Her smile was so dazzling that I think the Italian was encouraged and continued, "No. You prettier than Rockefeller Center." The waspy, blonde-haired real estate heir on Julie's right interrupted to say, "Maurizio, forgive me, but I disagree. This woman is more beautiful than the Pentagon." I've never heard a man compare a girl to a government building before. Julie must have been flattered because next she asked her key questions. "Do you believe in drivers?" she said, smiling beautifully at him. It turned out everyone believed in drivers like they're a religion, including the record producer opposite, who was originally Polish, and the 13th man, who was an actor from LA by way of Minnesota. I guess Muffy had relented and let one in after all. It also seemed that everyone had pilots as well as drivers because they all had private planes, except for the actor who, quote-unquote, borrowed the Warner Brothers jet, quote, totally, all the time, and you can totally, smoke Marlboro Reds on it, which is, genius, end quote. The men started discussing altitudes and instruments and cigars and the NASDAQ, which must be more fascinating subjects than they seem to an ignoramus like moi, because men in New York seem to discuss almost nothing else. No one was talking to Julie, or yours truly, or any of the other girls at the table. Julie opened her gold-clutched bag, pulled out a lip balm, and started glossing her mouth, a habit she always falls back on when she's extraordinarily bored, and said, "Why can't you guys be a bit more real?" I thought this was a peculiar thing for Julie to say, since she often says the only real thing she understands is a diamond. The record producer patted her on the hand and said, "You don't get rich that way, babe." "You're so interesting," said Julie sarcastically, but he didn't notice because he was back discussing cigars with the real estate guy. Then the men carried on ignoring everyone but themselves and their jets, and so Julie, who was very talented in the redirecting attention to herself department, said, "I've got $100 million. The PHs went quiet, so Julie added, "All to myself." And suddenly they all started acting very interested in Julie's mind, whereupon she sweetly announced, "Excuse me, I have to go kill myself in the ladies' room." While she was away, I explained that this is completely normal. It's just what Julie always does when she's really bored by the company and thinks people are interested in her only for her fortune and not for her sparkling personality. All the boys looked shamefully guilty, so I said, "Don't feel bad. Everyone except me likes Julie for her money. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. She's completely used to it. I mean, even her friends in nursery school only played with her because their parents told them she was rich." I think I managed to diffuse an abundantly awkward atmosphere because everyone looked very relieved and started asking me where Julie's wealth came from. Sometimes I feel pretty sorry for the Park Avenue princesses. They only have to turn their backs for 2 seconds, and suddenly everyone's asking how much they're worth or are going to be worth, as though they were a biotech stock or something. Naturally, I said I couldn't divulge anything as private as the source of the Bergdorf family fortune. "She's a Bergdorf? No wonder her hair is the perfect blonde," said a dark-haired girl sitting opposite. "Do you think she'd get me in with Harriet?" New York girls are always asking favors from complete strangers. They take the thing about the land of opportunity completely literally. Anyway, while Julie was not really killing herself in the restroom, something amazing happened. I had a PH sighting. At a table in the far corner, I glimpsed a potentially perfect man. Tallish, leanish, with dark hair and even darker eyes. He was wearing a suit but no black tie. Parentheses, I worship a man who throws caution to the wind like that and doesn't wear a tie when he should. Close parentheses. But no, seriously, he was handsome beyond belief. I mean, he was totally giving Jude Law. I completely lost my appetite on the spot, exactly like I do when I hear Tchaikovsky's Pas de Dieu from Swan Lake. Some things are just so romantic, they make you feel like you'll never eat again. Humphrey Bogart only has to blink at Ingrid Bergman in Casablanca, and I'm literally in danger of starvation unless I'm not careful. Julie returned to the table, and I pointed out the gorgeous PH to her, very discreetly, of course. He looks cute-ish, I guess, she said unenthusiastically, but, he looks a little, well, cool. You know what I mean? Like, maybe too cool to be engaged to me or anything trad like that. But maybe, you never know. He could be dying to be someone's fiance just to... I trailed off, mesmerized. All fiancés are single until they're fiancés, right? Everyone at the table was staring at me like I was totally dumb. I wasn't making any sense. I remember getting very confused about what I was saying, which is the effect all Jude Law types have on me. You should have seen me after the talented Mr. Ripley. I couldn't read or write for a week. "You looking for a husband?" said the Italian to Julie. "Surely this is not romantic to be so, how you say, sistematico?" "Maurizio, what's unromantic is all those girls who are looking for a husband but pretending they're not because they think it's politically correct. There's nothing more romantic than a girl who likes to be in love and is open about it," replied Julie. She paused and gazed at him flirtatiously. "Fiancés are beyond glamorous in this town. I think one would look really cute on my arm, don't you?" Maurizio swallowed. "How can you treat a man like a fashion accessory?" he said. "I'm an expert," said Julie. "I learned it from my boyfriends." Completely on Julie's behalf, I took it upon myself to perform a reconnaissance trip to the other side of the party. The closer I got, the more handsome Jude Law became, if that's possible. Gosh, what am I supposed to say? I thought anxiously as I approached. I don't usually just go up to total strangers and start talking to them at parties. "Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt," I said shyly when I reached his table, "but my friend over there has a question for you. She wants to know if you believe in drivers?" Jude Law laughed as though I told the funniest joke in the world. "This is always nice, even if secretly you have no idea you are making a joke." "I take the subway, actually," he answered. Gosh, how cute, I thought. I would have thought it was cute if he said he traveled by hedgehog, though. Everything's cute when you're as cute as he is. "You're so original," yelled a stunning brunette sitting opposite, too loudly. "Hi, I'm Adriana A., the model. I'm in the new Luca Luca ads. I don't think anyone introduced us yet. Hi, you're Zach Nicholson, the photographer, right? He nodded. Adriana was exotically beautiful with bones like a Siamese cat's. She had on those professional smoky eyes models all wear for shoots. I made a note to myself to copy the eye makeup, but not the personality. I mean, what's it like down there in those subways? Continued Adriana. She was so flirtatious, I swear I could virtually see her eyelashes curling while she was talking. I bet it's amazing. I bet you get so much inspiration for your work down there. You're a brilliant photographer. Gosh, Muffy is such a liar sometimes. This man was 100% creative. Julie would be totally against the idea of a photographer as a fiancé. Thank you, but my inspiration is all in my mind. I just like to get from A to B the quickest way possible, replied Zach courteously. I didn't think he was into Adriana. She was too much. Gosh, he's cute, I found myself thinking again. And gosh, what a crying shame for Julie that Monsieur Cute here takes subways, not drivers. I love the latest series. I went to MoMA to look. It's like genius to be at MoMA at 29, said Adriana. It really was bad luck for Julie. I mean, the photographer would have made a great fiancé, what with all that talent and charm. Suddenly he looked at me and whispered, "Save me from the Luca Luca model." And he said louder, "Hey, join us. I haven't seen you in so long," and pulled me into his lap. "Why don't you have some dessert?" he said, offering me a plate piled high with profiteroles. "I'd love to, but I just developed an allergy to them," I said, pushing the plate away. "You wouldn't believe what a party like this does to your appetite." Zach smiled and looked at me seductively. "Are you the wittiest girl in New York, or just the prettiest?" he asked. "Neither," I said, blushing. Secretly, I was flattered beyond belief. "I think you might be both," he said. I was completely 150% charmed. I happily stayed put on Zach's name. If someone needs me, I can't say no. And gosh, it was heaven to save someone this heavenly from a beautiful model. It did suddenly occur to me that it might take me at least another 5 minutes to disentangle myself from my reconnaissance duty, so I waved at Julie and made a thumbs down sign as if to say, what a drag. No PHs with drivers in this area. At about 1 a.m., I was still saving Zach from Adriana. And even after she'd gone, not before telling us we could see her on the billboard above the MTV building in Times Square, I definitely got the impression that Zach still needed saving. And sometime after that, somehow, parentheses, and please don't ask me how because I'm way too virginal to explain, close parentheses, Zach almost definitely ended up with his head pretty close to the aforementioned South American region of myself. And to all those gossips who gossiped that I stole a PH from under Julie's nose, the truth is Julie didn't want him anyway. Sounds way too creative to me. He'll never be anyone's fiancé, she warned me the next day about Zach. This was fine. I mean, it was Julie who was looking for a fiancé, not me. I knew Julie was telling the truth when she said she wasn't upset about the photographer visiting my Latin zones and not hers, because the only remark she made about Muffy's party was, well, that was a total waste of Paris couture.